Seeing how the build video went for 30 minutes, I thought why not just show the thing off right out of the gate. With that said, this is my Dell Optiplex 7010 sleeper build, no compromises. What I mean by that is fully working DVD drives and the hard drive cages are intact. I can't tell you how annoyed I get whenever I see YouTube videos of people doing these type of conversions to this type of Dell Optiplex, and in doing so they remove the working DVD drive and the hard drive cages. I try to keep everything as stock as possible. I even rewired the power on off switch, power LED, hard drive LED, and front audio, front USB 2s. With that said, as you can see, it runs games completely fine. Now obviously it's a little toasty. I mean, you pretty much see the specs I'm using right now, so it's not the best of the best, but it's what I have to work with. I do have a Ryzen 5 platform, but I'm completely done with that one, which is these two right here. I'm going to be selling the motherboard and processor as a combo to someone that's wanting a decent Ryzen 5 5th gen platform. I had some weird blue screening issues with this thing, and I think it was due to the Gigabyte App Center not wanting to update, and whenever the computer would go to sleep, it would cause it to blue screen, I think. Again, I was never able to catch it, but I know that once I managed to get that update to actually apply, the blue screening issue never happened again. But with that said, I'm done with this platform. I'm going to be selling both these two off. With that said though, I am keeping my RX 6600 XT. This would actually be a better option to use than my RX 580 in this Dell build, considering it's a lot more smaller. But I have weird initialization issues from when I try to boot the computer up from it being shut down for a while to when I wake the computer up from sleep. This card doesn't always want to initialize. I don't know why this is. I don't know if it's the motherboard I'm using or the fact that I'm trying to pair a 1st gen Ryzen 5 with an RX 6600 XT. But with that said, I have had this happen before with other video cards, which led to them just dying on me. So that's why I'm not using this card in this build. As much as I want to use this in my Dell Optiplex because this is a superior option, I'm not risking a card that costs $350 to $500 on eBay, let alone $350 brand new. Getting another one of these in this time would be incredibly impossible, especially if, with our money and whatnot. The fact I got this thing for free is even better. So with that said, let's get back to the Dell Optiplex. So like I said, it runs fairly hot, which is to be expected. I mean, it is an RX 580, so I'm not too concerned. If it ever got to 170, then I'll be concerned. But it tries as hard as to get to 170, but never can. But when it comes to the noise floor this thing produces, it is definitely noisy. I did tune the fans for when I'm actually gaming and whatnot, for the fans to actually spool up quite a bit. But when I'm like idling or watching YouTube videos, the fans will ramp down, that way so they're not constantly spinning up like this. So when it comes to the way the thing actually looks on the inside, give me a second. Here's what it looks like on the inside. Now the motherboard I'm using, as you can tell, is a ASRock Fatality. I also had an original ASRock board too, which was like $60, and that was my initial thought because that board was so cheap, and that was what was the cause of the issue. But it still happens on this particular board also. So my bet is most likely a weird pairing with my 1st gen Ryzen and the RX 6600 XT just don't play nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of Cyberpunk and let everything calm down. That way so I can actually talk without you guys hearing these fans just roaring over me. I actually decided to just shut it down. So with that said, as you can tell on the inside, it has been slightly modified. I did not have a 92mm fan for the back, so I had to modify one. Well, actually, I do technically have a 92, which is this little fan right here. But the actual mounting posts are too small because this fan was actually meant to be mounted to an AMD stock core. So I made this little foam board brace and whatnot and just used that to hot glue the fan to the brace and then screw the fan to the actual case. That allows me to have some exhaust in the back. I do have a 120mm Noctua fan in the front right here. That's just held on by a little piece of hot glue right here. Still, there's no vibration dampening whatsoever on this Noctua fan, but it's a Noctua fan nonetheless. And it is taking air from the front and whatnot. I don't know how efficient it is, but again, it's a Dell Optiplex, so it's going to get hot no matter what I do. I did try using my my taller cooler, but unfortunately it was too tall for the case, and plus it will also clash with this. So I'm using this little rinky-dinky cooler here, which actually is meant to run the processor I have, which is a Ryzen 5 1600. It is supposed to handle, like, I believe 65 watts, which is what the processor is. So the cooler is doing its job. And of course, here's my RAM. Here's the USB 3 cable. I did have to modify the actual USB 3 port on the motherboard because a little key on the USB header of Dell's little thing here isn't proprietary, so I had to remove some plastic. And I have this little piece of duct tape here to hold the actual port in place. Here is the rewired USB 2s that go right behind that. And right here is the actual little proprietary motherboard header that goes to the Dell motherboard. And as you can see, I did the pinouts for the USB 2s. There's the pinouts right there for the power on off switch and power LED. Let's see. This little red and white cable right here goes to the hard drive indicator. And I did have to replace the headphone and microphone jack. I did originally get them working, but for some reason or another, a small little black wire came loose when I went to put everything in there. And when that little cable came loose, the headphone jack just refused to work right. It always thought that there was something plugged in no matter what. So I eventually pulled the front I/O apart and found another pair of headphone and audio jacks that actually fit. And I just used that, and I, well, have now front audio and whatnot. But for some reason or another, even though these ports work, the headphones now don't work, and I'm thinking that's due to the fact I'm getting audio going through my RX 580 to my Acer monitor here, and then to this right here through the little aux port on the monitor and whatnot. So that's my belief of why this isn't working. But I know the mic works. Though I actually never could get the mic originally to work with the Dell proprietary for some weird reason. But of course, since I did a complete swap out, they're all working now. And of course, all the USB ports here work. And of course, the DVD drive works. And of course, like I said before, I do have the hard drive cage because this is, like I said before, going to be my server computer. And I wanted to keep these in here because I will eventually get the drives for this thing. And I want to be able to actually use these drive caddies for what they're meant for. So once I actually get the hard drives in my possession and whatnot, I will be removing all this stuff and putting everything back to stock, excluding this front panel because I've already modified it. Though I could go onto eBay and buy a new front panel for this thing for like 25 bucks. So with that said, as you can see, the power and power LED do work. Give it a couple seconds and we'll get a post. I got a post. Give it a little bit more. And you can also see the hard drive indicator light is working. And my RX 580's fans are freaking out, which is to be expected. But yeah, everything's in full working order. Let me first make sure the audio didn't just decide to fuck up on me. Oh, I know it's not working because I had it muted. Yep, there it goes. Don't know why it's so low, but whatever. Alright, so again, this is my no compromise build. So last thing I need to do is show the DVD drive working and my use in the USBs in the front. So let's start off with this. I'm one of the very few people that will legitimately need a DVD drive every now and then. Hence why it pains me to see people remove these when they do these conversions to these with these Dells and whatnot. Of course. Never change Windows 10. Never change, you piece of shit operating system. Alright, and now the USBs. For some reason or another, this port here doesn't give the little sound notification, so I have to go and manually go and view the actual thing I plugged in, which is a little annoying. But if I go to copy something over, I am copying over at USB 3 speeds. Another thing about this particular port is I can't actually do a safety check from here. But if I plug it into the other USB 2 or USB 3, I get the little noise. And of course, if I go and want to copy it over again, give me a second, it'll copy over at proper speeds and whatnot, and everything works. USB 2. Of course, it loads up, and of course, if I want to copy over, it'll copy over by USB 2 speeds. And of course, just with this port here and that port there, I can do safe eject. And then same thing with this port here. Come on. So, like I said, this is my no compromise Dell Optiplex 7010 sleeper build, and I'm very happy with it. I did expect issues, as you'll see in the next part where I actually go to build the thing out, but generally speaking, I'm happy with it. Obviously, though, I will be getting another case down the road for this, so I can actually do the full conversion and make it permanent, because like I said, this is my server computer, and this particular build is not going to be permanent, but I do plan on buying another one that will be permanent, and I'll do a video on that also, but it won't be as long as this one right here is. So if you're interested in seeing the build portion of me suffering, that'll be the next part you'll see. Alright, so a little while ago I got myself a Dell Optiplex 7010. I've been wanting to get one of these for a very long time because it's one of the very few Optiplexes that are still somewhat standardized. So I thought, since I don't have the actual hard drives to convert this thing to a file server computer, why not convert it into a sleeper build using my actual gaming components and see how well it actually works. Because currently right now I'm just playing Minecraft. I spent like a day getting this thing all set up with Windows 7. I got my 750 Ti in here. I made sure this thing works, everything's working. And now I just want to try and convert this thing into a sleeper build. But unlike other YouTube videos that do these type of builds, I'm going to leave everything as stock as physically possible. I'm not going to remove the hard drive cages. I'm not going to remove the DVD drive. I want to use the DVD drive, and I'm going to be using the hard drive cages. So with that said, I'm going to shut it down, and I'm going to start taking this thing apart and start putting stuff in and see what happens. I completely forgot to show the specs of this computer. With that said, when I got this off eBay, it was $40 in total, $20 for the actual thing itself, and then $20 for shipping. It did not come with a CPU, RAM, or hard drive, which is totally fine. I had my own laying around. It came with a DVD drive, but the DVD drive was busted. Luckily, I have a few of those laying around, so I was able to get one up and running for there. But when it comes to the specs, I'm using an i5, and it has 12 gigs of RAM. I can't remember what i5, so give me a second. It's using an i5 3570, 12 gigs RAM, like I said, Windows 7 64-bit, and of course for a GPU, I'm using my RX 580. Now again, this is going to be a file server, but unfortunately this thing only has display ports on the back of the motherboard and not HDMI, so I decided to just stick my 750 Ti into this thing and just use that as an HDMI adapter and whatnot. Which is kind of overkill for a 750 Ti, but I'd rather have that 750 Ti in a computer that actually gets used every now and then, instead of just sitting in a drawer that can easily get crushed and whatnot. So with that said, I'm going to go out to the kitchen and start popping things apart. Alright, so here is the inside of my Dell Optiplex. So one of the reasons why I wanted a 7010 is because, like I said, quite a bit of it is standardized. The power supply is still standardized, so if I just want to go to cheap and lazy route, I can just change out this power supply and stick in a more powerful video card. But I want to do something a little more interesting. Now the fan here will be replaced with something different. I gotta figure out the actual size, so I think it's a 92, and I'll probably just end up ordering a 92 mil knocked off of Amazon. Especially considering this fan right here is actually bad. I have a little adapter coming in, so that will be used. let's see. When it comes to the back of the actual case right here, the actual I/O plate is not stamped into the actual back plate where you can just literally press it out, which is something you can't do for later revisions. And of course, the power supply, the actual screw mounting and whatnot is standardized too. The only thing that's really not standardized on this case is the power switch right here, which the cable, this is the cable for that, and the front I/O header, which is this cable right here, which you really can't see. This flat cable right here is the USB 3s, and that is standardized. So the only hard part will be is wiring up audio, mic, and the USB 2s in the front. For right now, what I want to do is get the audio and the mic, and the power and power light LED and the hard drive indicator LED fired up, or get them running. And then once I get that done, then I'll figure out how to properly wire this out. There is a pin-off showing how exactly to do it, and I'm going to do it in a way to where I actually can just reverse everything back, because again, this is going to be my server computer to store all my files. And the reason being is because I actually plan on getting a better looking Dell 7010 and actually make this conversion again, but make it to where I actually use it on a daily basis, where this is just going to be probably used for like a month or two till I can actually get new hard drives. But with that said, I'm going to start pulling stuff out and come back. Alright, here are all the components for my Dell Optiplex, so all the Dell stock stuff. I have the front I/O right here because the USB 3 is very fragile, so I'm keeping it over here for so it doesn't get damaged. Motherboard's right here, of course. You can tell the cooler is fairly big. This is the cooler it actually came with, and I replaced it with this one right here I had laying around. I've bought quite a few Dell Optiplexes over the years, and luckily this big boy cooler with this fan works completely fine with this motherboard. And also, what's nice about the 7010 is that the actual motherboard has a back plate instead of it just screwing into the actual case like later revision Dell Optiplexes and whatnot. Now, it's still annoying that the front I/O is proprietary, but there is a pin out online showing exactly what pin does what, so I should be able to get everything functional. But like I said, for right now, I just want to get the power LED, hard drive, headphone jack, and mic jack working. I'll work on the USB 2s after I make sure I can get those up and running. But with that said, now I'll start transplanting parts into the Dell case and whatnot. And for those that are wondering about the back case fan, it is in fact a 92mm. I'll be ordering a 92mm Noctua fan off of Amazon to replace this one. I also have a Dell proprietary to standard 4-pin converter, so I'll be able to use that Noctua fan I'm going to be getting with the Dell motherboard, because like I said, this fan right here has gone bad, so it works, it just makes a lot of noise. So in the meantime, I'm probably just going to end up stealing this 92mm fan from my cooler right here, because I do have another cooler I'm going to try and get to use, or try and get to work with this case, and that is my Cooler Master 212 Black. The reason why I don't think it's going to work is this cooler is fairly big, but there is hope. So with that said, when it comes to the actual specs I'm putting inside this case, my Ryzen 5 1600, as I said previously, I'm done with my 5th gen Ryzen, and I do have intermittent video card issues to where my RX 6600 XT doesn't always want to initialize. This right here is my RX 580 though, and I know this RX 580 paired with this motherboard and processor is completely stable and works completely fine every single time. Power supply is a little overkill, but it's a 750 watt. It's a small form factor. It's when I originally had this case right here, but then I swapped over to a Fractal Torrent Nano, which I still like. But since it's so small, it will be a lot easier to cable manage in this Dell Optiplex, because this is an office grade and not a custom like this one or this one right here. So with that said, I'm going to start moving parts in and come back when necessary. Alright, so I got the motherboard in the computer. The cooler I was planning on using is too big. How do I know that? I did this little simple height tool thing. I went down, placed it like so, and it just wouldn't close. So I have to come up with a different cooler, but considering I am planning on doing a complete platform swap to Intel, my theory is I'm going to hold off on actually getting a cooler and whatnot because I'm going to be going to an Intel 11th gen, and I'll need a whole new cooler for that because my current cooler doesn't have the mounting brackets for it. So I'm better off just buying a whole new cooler, and I'll have to make sure it's short enough so it can actually fit inside this thing. But yeah. So I gotta figure out a fan for the back of here. I think I got one, but I'll figure something out. The I/O in the front, the I/O in the back here. The top right here doesn't line up properly, but I can still jam my USB receivers in there, I believe. I don't know why it does that. I'm thinking it's just due to the way this particular Dell was used over time. Something probably bashed it right here and it's probably a little out of whack. But I know this should more or less work. So with that said, another thing I tried doing was figuring out what type of fan can I put in here in the front for intake. So I got 140 right here, and I got an Octo 120. So if I was going to have a little drive or something in here, I'll fit a 120 in here. But since I don't plan on having anything over here, I can just stick a 140 in there, and that'll do the job. And the hard drives again are going to go here and here. Now of course, this is a newer platform. I have an NVMe drive on the back of this motherboard, but I need to get some hard drive caddies for this thing anyway, so I won't actually be using my 2.5-inch drive in this thing for a while because I want to get a drive caddy in here, because with that thing spinning up and whatnot, it's going to vibrate the heck out of this chassis unless I have a little drive caddy. So that will have to wait, but the boot drive on this thing is 2 terabytes, so I got enough storage to hold me for a while. So I guess the next thing to do is figure out the pin out for this thing and see if I can actually get the on-off and the power LED to actually function properly. Though granted, I need to actually put the power supply in first, so I'm going to go and do that. Alright, some time has passed. I got the power supply in there and my RX 580. As you can see, it is a very tight fit. It's an even tighter fit than anything my ex-girlfriend could wish she was. But with that said, it does fit. The power supply is small, so the cabling is actually well within the realm of ease of management and whatnot. So the next thing I want to do is plug everything up and make sure everything works. And then once that's done, make sure everything works, I gotta go and wire up the power and the power LED. That way so I can have that functioning, and then once that's done, now I get the front I/O figured out and whatnot. And looking at it, I actually can't get a 140 in there because the I/O plate goes right there. I might be able to get a 120 in there, but I might have some issues. Most likely what I'll end up doing is I'll just end up getting a 120, not 120, a 65, not 65, a 92 mil fan right here and just stick it there too. But with that said, I'm going to plug everything up and make sure everything works first. And since I'm working with a Dell computer, why not use a Dell monitor? So let's see what happens. Gotta figure out what pin it is, and I gotta make sure everything's flipped. There it goes. Alright, I got a post. Let's see if it gets to the desktop. I should change the name, but alright, onto the desktop. Everything's in working order. So now the fun part. Wiring up the power and power LED. Alright, and I was able to use this chart right here to get the pinouts for the on-off and the power LED. I got them both wired up to the motherboard right now. Both power and LEDs are functional. So the next step is to get the hard drive activity light figured out. And then once that's figured out, then I can actually go and get everything else more or less put together. So with that said, I will come back in probably like an hour or two when I get all that pin out figured out. There is another picture here, this one right here, which shows exactly the pinouts for everything. And right now, all I'm working with is the hard drive LED. After that, then it's just everything else, which is going to be fun. Alright, I got the hard drive LED to work right. Give it a couple seconds to do something. As you can see, it is flashing, which means I got the hard drive LED working. So the next bit is going to be these two audio ports. These are going to be a little more interesting. Same thing with the USB 2s right here, but I'm going to work with them last. I'm currently in the process of trying to get a Dell Optiplex 7010 set up for full motherboard, normal motherboard usage. I already got the power and LED working. I got the hard drive LED also working. I even got the headphone jack working. The only thing I've yet to get functioning properly is the microphone. So let me show you exactly what it's doing. So right now I have nothing connected to the front I/O. So if I go to here, I have audio. So let me plug the aux cable into the headphone jack. And I go to here. Granted, I don't have any headphones plugged in, but I'm having full audio going through the headphones. So I want you to watch what happens when I plug it into the mic port. So let me go to recording. As you can see, nothing's detected right now. So let me go plug it in. It is now detected. You think it's working, and it technically is. So let me grab it and ground it. So the mic is functioning properly. So watch what happens when I do this. It goes into a disconnect, connect, disconnect, connect. It does it over and over and over again. So let me actually play some music. And it does detect that the music is playing when it is connected for a very brief second. Now I have this grounding wire right here that is plugged into pin number 6. It is labeled as ground sleeve or shielded, sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ground this to the case. And once I ground it to the case, it stops doing this issue. But also you may note, I have no audio coming through my main speakers. So let me unground it. And for a very brief second you heard something. So let me ground it again. And there it goes again. You can kind of see what it's doing. When I ground it, it's playing completely fine, but when I unground it, it instantly starts disconnecting. It tries to play audio from it, but it just can't because it's just disconnecting, reconnecting way too quick. I have no idea what the cause of this issue is. I've done all sorts of crap, and I've been trying to figure this out for a good 3 hours. So, again, I got everything else functioning, excluding the USB 2s. I'm actually about to do that. I just want to try and get this microphone issue resolved first. But you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I'm having mic issues, and I don't know what exactly to do to resolve this issue. I don't know if I need to ground something else. I don't know if I need to add a resistor of some sort. This is, as far as I know, no one else has actually tried doing something like this before, so I don't know if I'm actually the first to do this, or if someone else has actually done this and resolved the mic cutting in and out like this. Hopefully someone online, Tech Tips, maybe Dell's own website, I don't know, could actually help me out with this, because I would like to get everything fully functioning. Like I said, I already got the power LED, hard drive indicator, and front front headphones working, but the front microphone is not. Now again, for me, it's not really necessary, and I could just plug into the back of the case right here if I really want to use a mic. But it's still something I would like to have fully functioning. And for those that are wondering what exactly I'm trying to do with this Dell Optiplex, I'm building a sleeper PC inside this. And the one caveat I have for my sleeper build is fully functioning DVD drives, fully functioning hard drives. As you can tell, I did not remove this. I did not remove these because I want these here and I want everything stock. And also, I'm going to be using this as actual hard drive storage. And as you can tell, my RX 580 here is very, very close to the hard drive cage. It was a massive pain getting in here, but it fits and it actually works completely fine. So with that said, I'm actually just going to go and wire out the front USBs, and then I'll come back because I'm pretty certain that the front USBs are going to wire up real easily compared to the microphone and whatnot, since the USBs is fairly simple. This was such a pain in the ass to wire. I got everything working except the mic. I don't know why the mic doesn't work. I did a separate little video asking why, so that video will be uploaded a little later on. I want to get this video up first because it is the actual build process and whatnot and showing it off. So, since I now got all wired up, I can now start the process of actually putting everything back into the case and closing everything up. That way, so it looks like a nice stock Dell computer case, but on the inside is a very nice sleeper. So I'm going to finish up everything else off camera because it's just menial stuff like putting in fans and whatnot. So I'll come back when necessary. I found a 92mm that'll work. The only problem with this 92 is that the actual posts for mounting are too small. This is an AMD cooler fan, so that's understandable. So I just made this little simple foam board bracket and just covered it in some black marker. That way, so when I actually place it against the back here and screw it in, it will look halfway decent. So with that said, once I get this screwed down, I'll need to put the front I/O in, wire that up, and then figure out exactly the fan solution for the front right here. So I'll come back when I get all that figured out. Remember how I said I had the front audio cable working? I have no idea what happened, but a little black cable came out and it's never been working right since. No matter what I do, if I plug in this little black cable, it will think that there is always a headphone jack plugged in, no matter what I do. So I've been trying to screw with this now for a good, let's say 30 minutes. I am done screwing with it. I'm going to fix it. I did not want to do this because I want to try to keep this thing as clean and as stock as possible. I know the headphone light, or not headphone, I know the hard drive LED and the USBs work completely fine. So what I need to do is I need to pull out the I/O plate and basically replace these bullcrap headphone jacks with something that's more standardized. So I'm gonna pull these two out, and I'm going to get it to work with these. Now, granted, I did cut the end off, but the end I cut off is the actual end from the. This is the actual HD audio cable from this little guy right here. So I'll just be able to rewire it wire to wire, and it'll work completely fine. So that definitely sucks, but what you going to do? Well, I'm going to have to fight the YouTube copyright bot crap, but alright, I think I got it working. So here's the headphone jacks I ripped out. And as you can tell, I'm getting audio from here. And if I plug it into here, audio from that. Unplug. Alright, I have front audio. Now I need to make sure I get the mic. Alright, and the mic works. I have my phone hooked up to the computer through the mic port. If I unplug, it loses detection, plug it back in. Alright. So there's these little resistors here, but I'm going to remove them since they're not necessary. Alright, I did the cable management that I could inside the case. I closed everything up and turned it on, and as you can tell, it is working completely fine. So let's activate the old YouTube copyright bullcrap again. so audio is fully working. Let me find a USB drive, USB 3. For some reason, this particular port, it does work, but the little noise that you're supposed to get from from the computer when you plug it in, it doesn't do anything. But when I actually go to here to copy something over, let's copy something a little big. Let's copy this. Oh, that was only a kilobyte in size. Oh wait, no, I didn't even copy the right one. Give me a second. As you can see, I'm getting USB 3 speeds on that port. And of course, when I plug it into port number 2, it fully does its thing. It loads up the actual thing like it should. I'll go back to sources. Let's get this out of here again. Let's go to here. Copy that over. Again, USB 3 speeds. Get rid of those. USB 2. Other USB 2. So all the I/O works. Again, I have no idea why this one's acting the way it does, so I'll remember to just use these ones right here. But it's nice to see they all work. Headphone and microphone work. Again, I got a DVD drive in here, so I'm going to grab a DVD. Alright, got a CD. And the CD drive detects, and I will run executable. Give it a couple seconds, or about a minute or so. This is a DVD drive after all. I can hear it whirling away. It's actually really quiet. And there's a Windows 7 install. And just like that, I now have a full sleeper build inside a Dell Optiplex 7010. Granted, I really should have just taken these two out of the little audio thing I took them from, just to save me the 3 hours of heartache to get these to work. But either way, other than the audio taking a lot more longer than I initially wanted, everything is now working. So the next major thing to do is, well, see what the temperatures are like, because again, this is a closed-in case. I did put a 120mm Noctua fan right in here, but I'm going to go in there and actually tune it a little bit more better, because I need to tune it to where it's blowing air inside it, but also to where it's not too noisy. And of course, I also got to tune the other fan in the back right here, so I'm actually going to go into my room where I don't have to listen to the refrigerators and whatnot, and my fish tanks and all that crap, so I can have a more quieter soundstage to properly tune this computer to the way I need it. Alright, so I've been running War Thunder for a little while, and just as I thought, my RX 580 is a toasty boy, but then again, this RX 580 is always a toasty boy. The temperatures are fine, and the frame rate's actually maintaining itself. So let me actually get back into a match and come back. Alright, so I'm in game now. Obviously, it's very map dependent on temperature and frame rate. As you can see, everything's well within reason. The RX 580 is not as hot as I thought it would be. I'm pretty certain it will easily get to 170 on a slightly more demanding map, but the frame rate's about where it usually is. Again, I'm using an RX 580. If I was using an RX 6600 XT, I would actually be getting significantly higher frame rate. But it is more than a playable state, especially temperature-wise and frame rate-wise. So now I'm going to be a Russian asshole and just shoot people with one-shots. Just as I thought, as the round continues, it does heat up a bit more, but it's well within its range. Now if it got to like 170 or something like that, then I'll be a little more concerned. Now granted, I really don't like it running at 190, or not 190, 160, but this is an RX 580 and it's always hot, so... Alright, so with that said, I do want to do one more thing. I want to run Cyberpunk 2077 on this thing, that way so I can properly fan curve everything and really get this thing tuned properly. Because when I'm gaming, I want the front and back fans to be running fairly high, but when I'm idling, I want them to be very low. That way, so I'm doing stuff like YouTube and whatnot, this thing isn't just screaming. So I'm going to let the thing idle for a little while, and then I'm going to tune that. And then I'm going to download Cyberpunk 2077 and use that to really tune the fans to what I want. So all I'm doing is downloading Cyberpunk 2077, and as you can tell, my processor is a tad hot. And that's because I'm using such a rinky-dinky little cooler. That cooler is designed for the type of TDP my Ryzen 5 1600 is able to produce. It's a 65 watt chip. And the reason why this case is so noisy, or the computer is so noisy, is because, well, that little AB92mm fan is trying to keep the processor from cooking itself. And again, all I'm doing is just downloading Cyberpunk 2077. So, when it comes to noise that this computer produces, I think it's more the CPU and the RX 580. Now, the Noctua fan, the 120mm Noctua fan, being literally just hot glued to one little edge of the metal bracket for the hard drive cage, isn't really helping when it comes to vibrations and whatnot, but it is a Noctua, so I'm going, it's quiet. I could have gone a lot worse, but there's really nothing I can do about this case. It's always going to be noisy just due to the way this thing is designed. Maybe if I had more proper components or proper crap, I could probably silence this thing a little more better, but it's kind of the charm of this case. It's a Dell Optiplex. It's an office grade computer. Office grade computers do make noise, so it's kind of the charm. And what's going to be nice is that once I actually move this over down to here, again, I'll be doing that when I get my Intel build and whatnot, it will be significantly more quieter because it's going to be underneath here under this wooden table right here. So it is noisy for me right now, but like I said, there ain't nothing I can do about it, and it's kind of the charm of the case. Alright, so I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 for a little while now, probably like a good 30-45 minutes, and I've yet to really see the temperatures go any higher than when I was playing War Thunder. Now, I did see it try and go to 170, but it never was able to do so, so I think I'm actually going to leave the way I tune the fans to the way I have them. That way, so when it's actually not gaming and I'm just idling or watching YouTube videos, it's fairly quiet, but when I'm actually hammering it with a game and whatnot, it actually spools up the fans like it should. So with that said, I think that's pretty much it for this video.